Hello, welcome to Zentangle Explore. If you are here for the first time, I'm so happy to see you. And if you are here watching us on the recording, either for the first time or after many classes, I'm also happy to see you. So this is a class. My name is Esther Piszczek. I'm a certified Zentangle teacher, and this is a class where we draw one Zentangle pattern really, really slowly and explore it in whatever way you want to explore it. So I have a couple of pieces of watercolor paper small enough to hold in the palm of my hand. And I have a 01 Micron here, and I have a graphic one, which is a thicker pen. I don't know if I'll use that, but I also just have a ballpoint. So if you just have a ballpoint and a piece of copy paper, that is perfect. All right, so we start off every class with a little bit of breathing so we can slow ourselves down. So if you'd like to breathe with me, you can close your eyes if you like. I'm going to close mine, get nice and comfortable in your seat. And we'll just take a few minutes and settle in. Just find your breath. Nice little inhale, a little stop at the top, and a little exhale. Stop at the bottom. Just allowing your breath to be exactly as it is. Just notice. There's a little rise to the inhale, a little turn around at the top, and a releasing on the exhale. A little rest at the bottom. Perhaps notice where you can feel your breath in your body, whether it's skin moving, clothing moving, expanding chest or belly, back body. Maybe there's a warmth or coolness or a tingling or a little tug at the bottom at back of your throat. However you feel it is exactly fine. And just noticing brings a deeper awareness, a deeper familiarity with the beautiful cycle of your breath that you experience in your very own way. All day, every day, and even while we're sleeping. Perhaps as you breathe, allow your body to become just a little bit heavier, a little bit more connected to the chair, the floor, the bed, the rug, the ground, wherever it is you are, where you're watching this, experiencing this class. And when you're ready, let's take a big inhale together. And a nice sighing exhale. Ah. Nice big inhale together. And a nice exhale. Oh. And one big last inhale together. A nice releasing exhale. Ah. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and know that whatever we create together will be perfect just as it is. Okay, I am so excited to explore this pattern. And have all your supplies ready. I will change my camera and we will draw. Okay, so I have a couple pieces of watercolor paper here that I can hold in the palm of my hand. And I have a whoops, upside down. I have a 01 Micron. I have a graphic one. This is a bit of a heavier pen. But I don't know if I'll use it, and just a ballpoint. So if you're using a ballpoint, that will be fine. And I'm always talking about using colors. So I have a number of highlighters here, which are really great for decorating envelopes when you're drawing envelopes and shading. And they're just a really easy way to add color. It's not going to be permanent, of course, but that is okay. We do not mind on our tiles. So I'm going to put all this away and start over here. All right, so this is a really fun little pattern. It comes in a grid, and I'm going to teach it to you in a grid, and then we're going to take it out of the grid and let it just explore, let it explore itself on its own. So this is Wind Weaver, excuse me, by Cyndi Knapp. And we're going to start with a grid. So I am going to put a little window pane up here. Actually, I'm not going to put a window, well, one pane of the window. I'm not going to draw 4. So just draw a box. Oh, and check in with your breath. Say hello, breath. Just a little meditation, but even as we start drawing, it's nice to just connect with the breath again. All right, so now the next thing that happens here is a diagonal line, but it does not meet the edges of this corners. So it stays within the box and floats. Nice slow line. We're going to cross that like an X, coming right into the other diagonal. So slowly. And then at the top, I'm going to take this left top point here, and I'm going to bring it across to the right, but not connect it, and just draw an aura line. An aura line is just a line that mimics what came before. And bring it into the center. And then we're going to do that on all 4 of these. You can turn your tile if you'd like. Go to that top left point, draw across, and aura that triangular shape all the way into the middle. So this class is an exploration, which means that you get to explore however you want to explore, with the gentle suggestion that this is the pattern that we explore. But if this takes you in a direction that has nothing to do with this pattern, then that is absolutely perfect. So we begin by learning the pattern and learning the components of the pattern. Saying, well, what does this pattern do? And what parts of this pattern might I want to change, embellish, make larger, smaller, fatter, thinner, add weighting to lines? And what would that look like? So this is a grid pattern, which means that I could draw many, many panes of this in boxes all over my page. And you can absolutely do that. But I'm going to take it out of the grid and see what happens to it. So I'm just going to start with a diagonal line. Nice, slow diagonal line. And a cross line. Now, when I take this out of the box, my lines are not, I mean, I could have made them a little bit more even with exactly the right length, but I don't mind that they're not quite even because that's going to give this pattern a different look and start my exploration. But how I continue from here is the same. I go to my top left corner and connect to that drawn line, that diagonal line, and then I can aura this little triangular shape inside. And so as we're drawing this now for the second time, you can begin to ask yourself, what are the components? What makes up this tangle? We have these crossing lines, and then this oraing, an aura of those lines with this kind of outer wall that comes across the top and forms this shape inside for us to aura. And so every single one of these components is up for exploration and change. So the question is, does this have to be a cross? Do these lines have to cross in the center? Could they cross at the ends? What if they're double lines? What if it's not? What if they show up in a circle instead of a square or a rectangle? What if there's some black added to the center of this, kind of ground this tangle? What if the lines aren't straight? What if it's not an angular tangle, but a very organic, wiggly line tangle? I love drawing these simple tangles because they're so easy to vary. What if I'm going to play with this idea of piling these up a little bit and see what happens. So I do that by drawing too close to this drawing, meaning that I won't be able to draw the entire form because I'm going to tuck part of that form behind. And I'm going to start at the top here. So I'm just going to keep this really simple. And you can explore this, or you can just go off on your own. You don't need to be drawing what I'm drawing. These are merely suggestions. What I love about drawing, like stacking patterns up, is that you end up drawing partial patterns, not being able to see the entire form. And you really get to know the tangle by doing that. So here I am. This is part of the partial here. Go to my top left corner. And then when I get to that other object here, this other wind weaver, I'm just going to let it go behind. I'm going to imagine where this little diagonal would end, where this would come across, and say, where's this line going to show up again? It's going to show up right there. And there's no right or wrong answer to where it shows up. It's really all about what your eye says is most pleasing to you. The brain is really fabulous in that it is able to complete forms without seeing the entire thing. And so the eye will just say, oh, that corner is right there underneath this other wind weaver. So on this next one, I can't see where this begins, but I can imagine based on these lines where it ends and where it comes across. And I know from drawing these other three sides that it's going to come at a diagonal and it's going to not quite meet. And then it's going to start its little aura. And I'm just going to draw the part that I can see and trust that the rest of it is behind, doing its thing. So we can explore this in so many different ways. I'm going to see what happens if I put it in a circle. Well, an egg. It's not quite a circle. And it doesn't need to be a full circle. You can explore what it is like to make these lines go right to the edge. Here I'm going to aura the outside edge of this circle. This reminds me of Trivial Pursuit, those little pie shapes for that game. All the little categories. What I love about an exploration is that everything I draw is acceptable because it's all brand new. It helps me loosen and relax my expectations. Say, well, I've never drawn this before, so I don't know what's going to happen. And so whatever happens is got to be fantastic because it's all new information. Now, this pattern doesn't have a lot of inherent black in it. And so that gives us the opportunity to play with what I call creative black. So adding black in patterns or places that of your choosing, whatever that looks like, whether it's adding a little rounding to some of these corners, just adding a little black webbing, or maybe adding a thicker, darker band around the outside. I'm going to use it since I'm talking about it. I'm going to actually do it. I'm going to use my thicker pen here and just make this line darker on the outside, just to see what it'll look like. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. I think I do like it. I like the contrast between those darker lines and the thinner lines. But it's really up to you. And so I've been wondering with this pattern, what happens if all of my lines are squiggly? I'm going to find out because I have a black pen and I have my breath. And I have the ability to follow my inspiration. It says, what will happen if we allow this shape to become more organic and less structured? What will it look like? If I decide in the beginning that I have to like what I draw, or it means that I'm a bad artist, or it means that I'm a terrible teacher, or it means whatever number of horrible things my brain might come up with, then I am not going to enjoy drawing. If I come to this practice and hold it very loosely and say, you know what, maybe today my lines will wiggle. Maybe my hand will do really crazy things. Maybe my pen won't listen to my brain's expectations and it'll go off on some wild, insane tangent. And I'll end up with lines that I've never seen before and never could have imagined drawing. And I could make that mean that I can't control my pen, that I am terrible at this class, that I wasted a piece of paper. I could make it mean all kinds of terrible things. Or I could say, wow, that's like super cool. I wonder how I can get into that wild and untamed state again to create more lines that I've never expected to see. I'm really loving this particular exploration of this tangle because when I was in school, in grade school, I always loved the cartographic maps that showed the elevations, hills and the mountains and the lakes. And there were always these lines that came, squiggly lines that came close together or wider apart. Sometimes I see it on weather maps too, the wind patterns. And so this feels a little bit like that. My hand is actually a little tremory today for some reason. And what I love about tremor lines, I often have students who get upset because they just have a tremor in their hand and they can't draw a completely straight line. And I always tell them that to embrace it, lean into the tremor. It creates a gorgeous line that you can't get if you try to tremor your hand. It won't be as organic, it won't be as authentic. So I'm gonna allow my hand to do whatever it's doing today. So you know what, today, you just get to be you. You can play with these black parts in the center, add more black, or play with what it looks like without any black. Maybe add some shading if you like to shade rectangles with pencil, or get that highlighter out early. I probably won't play with mine till the end, but that doesn't mean that you can't play with it whenever you want. All right, so right there, I wanted to do that center line, but I missed it. And I really like how that turned out. So I'm gonna let that be and just add its companion black on the other side. See, it's so fun to discover new things by accident. I like to think that it's accident, but it's really our little inner artist saying, do this, do that, create something different, be wild and crazy. Because nothing bad happens if a line ends up on the page that you do not like. The only bad thing that can happen is you having some judgment about yourself and your ability to draw lines. And you get to control that. You get to say what you say to yourself. And nobody else is in your head. All right, so I'm really excited about this little option. Taking it out of a grid, but then putting it inside a grid at the same time. I'm going to explore drawing this without turning my tile to see what happens. So what I really love doing in this class, it can be a little bit overwhelming to say, well, I mean, I could change everything about this pattern. But sometimes it's really helpful to just say, what if I change one thing? Just one line. What if I make it a little longer? What if I make it a little thicker? What if I double it? And you could just change that one component 10 times and have this tangle look 10 different new ways just by changing one of the lines. And that's without even changing all of the other things you could change about it. Just breathing. relatively slow lines. So I've been following the little wind weaver formula here, starting at the left corner and spiraling around with my little aura. But it occurs to me that I don't have to do that. I can start somewhere completely differently. I can take this X and just draw a quarter of it and make it a V. I can end my aura right there. Really can do that. That's so freeing. And I can then play with that shape if I want to play with that shape. Say what would happen if Windweaver starts from the right corner, only has one wall or one line aura. I am drawing the essence of this pattern. It's like a misshapen, opened up paper clip. What if the aura doesn't go, doesn't pay strict, isn't strictly true to the lines? So what does that look like? Look like that. Really, I'm so glad that all have come to draw with me because I absolutely love this process of exploring. It's not something that necessarily comes easily to me because it's a form of play. I've adopted the word play or playful for my 2026 word of the year. You might have a word of the year, you might not. It's still early in the year. If you don't have a word of the year, then I encourage you to find one. That feels like a fun thing to do. Mm. I really love this thought that I just had about cutting out that center. And just drawing the edges. Well, you can start a new drawing at any time. You do not need to stay on this one little piece of paper or even on a larger page. It's completely up to you. Sometimes it can be fun to explore just by saying, well, I drew this line first, but what if I draw the third line first? What does that look like? And keep the pattern exactly the same, but just play around with how you're getting to the end result. That can be a really beautiful way to explore and so informative about what you like drawing, what you don't like drawing. And it can often lead to new tangle iterations. I just began to wonder, what if this was a Y instead of an X? It's going to provide the exact same triangular shapes to aura. Then we get this beautiful pyramid shape, which is really lovely. This is going to be a really nice pattern to play with color behind these shapes because they're so just lines, really. There isn't a lot of black or grounding. So it'll be nice to add a little pop of something behind, kind of make them stand out. I went to somebody's house yesterday and there's a labyrinth. There's a labyrinth in the front yard by the deck. And I always love walking the labyrinth. And this pattern reminds me a little bit of a labyrinth. I love the idea of a structured path that leads to the center, walking in and then walking out. And I notice that a lot of the times when I walk the labyrinth, I want to skip ahead. Or even when I get to the end, I don't want to go all the way back along the path. I just want to jump over the rocks and get out. I don't do it. I make myself walk, but I've been noticing, at least yesterday in particular, that I usually have this expectation, this forward leaning, a little bit of, I don't know, labyrinth angst, possibly. It says, just get to the end. Let's go to the next thing. I've walked this labyrinth so many times. I know what happens. And I realize that when I approach it that way, that I am losing out on the opportunity to really experience the labyrinth, which is the whole point of walking a path really slowly from the outside to the inside. It's that experience of taking one step at a time and becoming fully present with that step. And so yesterday I really focused on just being present for the step that I was taking at the time. And it really changed my experience. I think it's really easy to allow our expectations and our brain is very habitual, and it gets bored really easily with things we think we know. And so it's really easy to thrust ourselves out of the present moment, to miss out on what might be showing up for us because we've glazed over the details, thinking that we know exactly what's happening, when there might be new information being presented that could change our ideas or our concepts or our beliefs or even our choices. And I've been recognizing about myself about how I constantly wanted to get to the next thing. Very production and detail, production oriented, goal oriented. Complete the goal, move on. I have a good friend who is also an artist, but we knit together. When I get frustrated with my knitting patterns, she says, Esther, why are you doing this? Are you doing this to complete the project, or are you doing this because you love knitting? And that's the same for everything. Why am I drawing these lines? Am I doing it because I want to add ink to this page, or because I love drawing? And it doesn't matter what shows up on the page. It's the process of drawing that is pleasing to me. So it's always a good reminder when she says that to me. And then when I get frustrated and doing other things, I come back to that and say, well, Esther, why are you doing this? Are you doing this because you want to meet a deadline? Or is the deadline there because you enjoy doing the thing that you're doing? I have an art show on April 1st. So I'm creating new work, and it's work that's just been coming in little bits and pieces. So I just have these little bits and pieces that say, well, what if I did this thing? And I still don't have a full grasp of what the wall will look like, or what all the pieces will be, or how they'll be laid out. And I usually do. And so it's been a really interesting process of allowing the next piece to just show up in perfect time. It's been a very intuitive process. And because there's no information, I mean, I can't force it to happen. It just has to happen when it happens. So it's reminding me that this whole looking forward part is not actually serving me. I mean, it can serve you if you want to take your grocery list to the grocery store, then it would be helpful to remember to actually pick up that piece of paper and throw it in your bag. But that's really only, I suppose it's useful if you know your tax deadline is the 15th of April, then, or whatever the deadline is, that you should maybe start working on that before then. But when it comes to creative projects, especially why I love this class, because it's an exploration. So I don't get to say what's going to show up on this page. I have a general idea only from the fact that I'm working with this pattern called Windweaver, but that's it. Whatever else comes out is complete, like unknown. And that makes it really fun. And it's a way for me to practice feeling comfortable without knowing, and feeling comfortable embracing whatever shows up, whether I like it or not. I mean, that's just me judging what's happening if I don't like it. I could just honor every single line and say, oh, well, you are a valuable line. You are a valuable line because you, little line right there, the one that just came out of my pen, you are informing everything that comes next. You are a pivotal line because without you, whatever comes next would not be. Oh, Misha has joined the class. Hello, Misha. It's I sometimes think of myself as, in fact, all of us, not just me, it's just that I'm the one who's sharing this thought, that we are living on the edge of creation because we are making, everyone talks about making history. But we are making history right now because these lines have never existed before this moment. Before this moment of this pen making this curve. This line never was and will never be exactly the same again. Oh, okay. All right. A cat wanting to play with pen. That's not helpful. That is not helpful, Kitty. All right, I am going to add, since she is here, being oh so kitty helpful. No, stop. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, very funny. You never know what's going to happen in a live class. You just don't. Like highlighters are so fun. Bright neon color. I don't have to worry about having water, having brushes, self-contained highlighters. This highlighter is not great. It actually bleeds my ink a little bit, but I'm going to be okay with that. I'm going to say it adds interest to my tile. And it's a fun way to get used to. Color is not actually my strong suit. I really love black and white, but it's a great way to play with color in a really easy way. Cheap supplies, inexpensive. Just see what happens. And I can also, and notice that I'm speeding up here, I can also slow myself down. Slow down, watch it appear on the page. And use this as an exploration. So I don't have to make it this, that, or the other thing. There's no right or wrong to how I add highlighter behind these shapes. I get to play. Say, what would happen if I did this? What if I took this green highlighter and I started drawing, which I'm not here because I don't have any real space for it on this tile, but what if I drew this pattern in highlighter and I just drew highlighter wind weavers all over my tile? What would that look like? What if I add black as the extra color instead of the main thing? That would be a lovely way to explore. What I love about exploring is that it's absolutely endless. If you find something interesting to explore, then you have hours and hours and hours of simple entertainment when all you need is a pen and a piece of paper, and even if it's a scrap piece of paper or a napkin in a restaurant, you can explore an idea. I often like to draw, especially if I enjoyed the meal at a restaurant. I'll draw on the credit card receipt and leave a little drawing for my server. And if they see it, great. If they like it, great. If they don't like it, great. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I just like I'm not doing it for accolades. I'm not doing it because I want to create something within them. I'm doing it because it brings me joy to leave them art, which is why I like to draw on envelopes too. Just because I can. I'm really liking this. It's looking a little graffiti-like. Okay, so that is my creation. I hope you enjoyed exploring this pattern with me. And if you want to keep exploring for the rest of the week, you can do that. You could draw this pattern all over the place and find all kinds of ways to make it your very own. All right, thank you for drawing with me. I'm so excited that we had this time together. If you would like to donate to this class, you can do so at Eternal Possibility. That is not the address. It's paypal.me/Eternal Possibility. You can find more of my work at eternalpossibility.com. And I hope that you enjoyed drawing this pattern, and I hope to draw with you again soon.